let's get straight to the point. You have about 30 seconds to make a first impression. Think that's an exaggeration? Well, science says it might even be less. Have you ever been on a date where you just knew, like instantly, that it wasn't going to work? Or maybe you've been on the other side, wondering what on earth you did wrong. That gut feeling? It isn't magic. It's your brain running a program that's millions of years old. And today, we're going to decode that program. We'll get into the science of that first hello, the subtle red flags you need to watch for, and the wild reason rejection actually physically hurts.
So how fast is this all happening? I mean, really? When you meet someone new, your brain turns into this super fast detective. It's been training for this job since, well, the dawn of humanity. And this detective works at lightning speed, gathering clues and building a profile of someone before you've even finished saying your name. You know that feeling when you just click with a person, or the opposite, when you get a weird vibe and you can't explain why? Yeah, that's your ancient brain's detective work right there in real time.
Okay, so let's zoom in on those first few seconds. And look, this isn't about being shallow or judging a book by its cover. You got to think about it from a survival standpoint. For our ancestors, figuring out if a stranger was a friend or, a foe, that was a life or death decision. And believe it or not, that same ancient wiring is firing away when you're sitting across from someone on a first date. It's a deep-seated survival instinct, and there's actually a name for it: thin slicing.
So what exactly is thin slicing? Basically, it's your brain's incredible ability to pick up on thousands of tiny cues, the way they smile, the tone of their voice, their posture, all of it, and use all that data to build a surprisingly accurate picture of who they are. It's how you can talk to someone and just get a feeling they're not being totally honest. Your brain is sensing these tiny little mismatches between what they're saying and what their body is saying. It's pretty amazing.
And just how powerful is this? Get this, research shows that we can accurately predict how effective a teacher is just by watching a 10-second silent video clip of them. Or, get this, a surgeon's chance of being sued just from a 40-second audio clip of their voice. And the craziest one? We can predict if a couple is going to get divorced from just 3 minutes of their conversation. So if our brains can do all that, just imagine the high-level analysis that's going on across the table on a first date.
So a real speed dating study breaks down what this looks like. And it's really interesting. The reasons for a quick no are pretty simple. Lack of attraction, maybe some negative physical qualities. But look at what gets a yes. It's friendliness, a good personality, a great smile, good conversation. Here's the key takeaway. A positive first impression is built on stuff you can actually control. Your energy, your warmth, your engagement. You have a serious shot at making a real connection if you can nail that part.
All right, you made it past the 30-second mark. Congrats. Now what? Well, this is where your conscious brain finally logs on, and the real detective work kicks into high gear. You start actively looking for clues, trying to piece together the puzzle of who this person really is. And a huge part of that is learning how to spot the red flags that are screaming danger ahead.
Okay, first major red flag, controlling behavior. This can be subtle. It's the person who insists on picking the restaurant, the movie, and even tells you what you should order, all without even asking what you think. What this behavior is really saying is that your opinion doesn't matter, that you're not a co-pilot in this relationship. You're just along for their ride.
And this quote from a real date says it all. Ordering a drink for someone, it seems like a small thing, right? But it's actually a huge boundary test. It's a little peek into a mindset that thinks, I know what's best for you. This is a perfect example of how one tiny action can reveal a much bigger and more problematic pattern. When someone shows you who they are, you gotta believe.
All right, next up, the person who just cannot stop talking about their ex. Look, we all get it. People are processing breakups, but a first date is just not the time or place for that therapy session. When someone is completely stuck in their past, it's a giant neon sign that they are emotionally unavailable. It's like they're trying to build a new house on top of the rubble of the old one. It's just not gonna stand.
And you've got to pay really close attention to the tone. Are they blaming their ex for absolutely everything? Are they using respectful language, or are they just trashing them? Because you can think of this as a sneak preview. The way they talk about someone they used to love is a pretty good indicator of how they're going to talk about you someday when things aren't so perfect.
This next red flag, it really just boils down to basic human decency. It's the person who shows up 20 minutes late and doesn't even text, let alone apologize. Or the person who spends half the date scrolling through their phone, barely even looking at you. It just screams that your time isn't valuable to them, that you're kind of an afterthought, not the main event.
Okay, this is obviously an extreme and awful example, but it's a powerful reminder of a simple truth. How someone treats other people, strangers, waiters, anyone, is a dead giveaway for how they'll eventually treat you. Respect isn't a switch you can just turn on and off. It's part of who a person is. So on your next date, watch how they treat everyone else. It's one of the most reliable character tests there is.
So, we've talked a lot about the red flags to watch out for in other people. But what about the ones we might be waving ourselves without even knowing it? It's so easy to focus on what the other person is doing wrong, but let's take a quick look in the mirror at some super common mistakes that can accidentally sink our own ship.
It makes sense, right? You're interested in someone, you want to open up. But there's a huge difference between being open and what some people call floodlighting, just blasting a total stranger with every detail of your life. Think of building a connection like building a campfire. You start with a little spark, a few twigs, and then you gradually add bigger logs. If you just dump the whole woodpile on at once, you're just going to smother the flame.
I mean, come on. There are just some things you can never unhear. And this is a hilarious but also very important reminder to, read the room. Sharing that kind of information on a first date is like bringing a megaphone to a library. It's completely out of place, and it's guaranteed to make everyone want to run away. The goal isn't to tell your whole life story, it's to share little pieces that make them want to know more.
This one is one of the biggest and honestly most common mistakes people make. A great date is supposed to be a rally, a back and forth, like a tennis match. The good news is, being a good listener is a skill you can totally practice. Instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, try asking real questions and actually show you're interested in the answer. When you make someone feel truly heard, you're building the foundation for a real connection.
Yikes. This person isn't a listener, they're a conversational steamroller. And their date is just a speed bump on their road to hearing their own voice. When you run into someone like this, it's actually a gift. You can just walk away. You've just saved yourself so much time and frustration. You absolutely deserve to be with someone who values what you have to say, not someone who's just waiting to talk over you. So the date goes badly. It happens. Whether you're the one saying no thanks or the one hearing it, it can be a pretty painful experience. But have you ever stopped to wonder why it hurts so much? Well, it turns out that the sting of rejection isn't just you being dramatic. It's a real, almost physical sensation that goes way, way back in our evolutionary history. So why does getting turned down by a relative stranger feel like such a huge deal? It all goes back to our caveman days. Seriously, for our ancestors, being part of the group was everything. It was survival. Imagine being kicked out of your tribe, left all alone to fend for yourself. That's the kind of deep, primal threat our brains are wired to avoid at all costs. And that ancient fear is still kicking around in our heads today. And here's the truly wild part. The science actually backs us up. Brain scans show that when we experience social rejection, this same part of our brain lights up as when we experience physical pain. The exact same part. So, when you say your heart is broken, or that being rejected just plain hurts, you're not just using a metaphor. To your brain, it's a genuine pain signal, just like a burn or a broken bone. Okay, so if rejection is so painful, is there any upside? Is it just pointless suffering? Well, it turns out there is. In fact, that pain might be one of the most valuable tools you have. Think of it like this. Every time you experience rejection, it's like your brain's social compass is recalibrating, pointing you in a new direction and helping you find your way to the people who are actually right for you. Your brain is basically a student, and every single social interaction is a pop quiz. When you get something right, you make a great connection, you get a little boost. And when you get something wrong, rejection, you get a valuable lesson that's going to help you do better on the next quiz. So instead of seeing rejection as a failure, a big red F, try to see it for what it is, an opportunity to learn something.
So what is your brain actually learning from all this? One of the biggest things it's tracking is something called relational value. You can think of it like a little social stock market inside your head, where every interaction is a buy or a sell. A good date sends your stock soaring. A rejection? Well, that's like a market crash, and it forces your brain to reevaluate its investment in that person and adjust your sense of social worth. And the beauty of this whole system is that it's always working to help you. It's like having a little personal matchmaker in your brain, constantly filtering out the bad fits and guiding you toward the good ones. First, you get the signal, acceptance or rejection. Then, your brain recalibrates its internal map. And finally, that new map guides your future actions, helping you learn who to trust and who to, well, avoid. It's your brain turning a bad experience into a better future.
So let's wrap this all up. At the end of the day, rejection isn't a judgment on your worth as a person. It's just a reflection of compatibility, or a lack of it. It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. There's nothing wrong with the peg, and there's nothing wrong with the hole. They just don't fit together. And that's okay.
See it for what it is, valuable data that's guiding you one step closer to finding the connection that you really deserve.
So as we finish up here, I want to leave you with one final question to think about. It's an important one. Think back on your own experiences. What's the biggest red flag you've ever ignored? What was that little voice in your head, that social compass trying to tell you? Understanding our past is the best way to build a better future, especially when it comes to finding the right person.